everyone. So your next assigned role in your lit circle is called the problem poser. And before we start this, I need you to please get out your pen or pencil. I need you to get out the problem poser note sheet, which you'll find at the front, as well as the problem poser roll sheet. So the note sheet, the roll sheet, and a pen or pencil. Have those out. Positive you need to get this before we proceed. So when you think of a problem, we're kind of talking about a word that is synonymous or kind of means the same thing as the word conflict. We've talked about the word conflict a ton this year. I mean, really from the get-go in The Outsiders, and then in those short stories. Remember, what was that one short story at the beginning of the year? High Beams, right? We talked about conflicts. Throughout the whole year, we've talked about conflict in our nonfiction unit. We've talked about conflict, and we've begun to talk about conflict in a lot of the Pixar shorts. We've been like analyzing critical lens, right? So the idea is that every novel or movie, right? But if we're reading books, every novel has problems or conflicts that help move the plot along. And they also help us get to know the characters. And then by the end of the book, a lot of those conflicts reveal the theme. Like characters go through stuff, right? So that we can discover exactly like the grit of the character and the experience of the character in order for us to learn this message at the end. If there were no conflicts, remember we talked about conflicts really make the plot worth reading. Conflicts are often the reason for nonfiction that we even like have the book, right? In Fast Food Nation or a couple other of the nonfiction texts you're reading, conflicts are like the whole reason that an author feels inclined to write the story. So, conflict, and I've written this in bold at the middle of the screen, conflict is when you have a struggle between two or more opposing forces. I mean, you can think about it as literally as like two, on a battlefield, two sides that are at war, that are like forging towards each other, right? Or you can sometimes have conflicts between two or more opposing forces and it's a person versus themselves. Sometimes conflicts can be super tiny. They can just be a paragraph of a book. And sometimes the conflict can honestly be like the whole book, right? Sometimes movies, the conflict starts from minute 1 and is solved in the last 5 minutes of the movie. Remember, conflicts occur because, and we really talked about this in those children's books last week, conflicts occur because there is someone that wants something, right? They have an objective. They have this mission. They want something. And there is something that stands in their way, whether they like knew it was going to stand in their way or whether it was something like very subtle and quick. There are hurdles that we jump through in life, right? Those little conflicts every day. Sometimes they're big, sometimes they're very small. But conflicts occur, and our job as readers is to understand the conflicts that are like the most essential and important a part of the plot. And these are the problems, honestly, a lot of times with no easy answer. A lot of the problems that we are going to want to like really analyze in a book are the problems that are not solved like in a one and done kind of way. They're problems that are reoccurring. Sometimes there's a lot of different battles in the book or a lot of different conversations that, sort of like are strewn throughout the book until maybe the end of the book when the character either solves the problem or sort of figures out like how to carry on. Sometimes, when you have a sequel to a book, the conflict continues on into many books. So in this hyperdoc, underneath this instruction, the first thing you're going to do before you read and before you do the roll sheet is I want you to watch this really funny, cute, kind of like crazy Pixar short, and it's called One Man Band. And you're going to practice finding 3 different types of problems. How many types of conflicts are there that we've studied? We've looked at 7, right? Character versus character, character versus self, fate, supernatural, society, nature, technology. We've talked about types of problems. We've talked about how you understand who's involved. So you are going to, in your practice little section, and you'll see the sheet that like accompanies the Pixar short, you're going to identify the type of problem, who is it between, and what caused it. Who wanted something and who felt inclined to get in their way. And you're going to maybe find 3 different conflicts that are all the same type of conflict. You might find 3 different problems that are 3 different types of conflict. But you're going to try to identify what are the primary and maybe the most minor of conflicts occurring in the Pixar short. When you get done with a practice and you feel like you've sort of wrapped your brain around how to identify conflict, you're going to look towards your role sheet. You're going to tackle reading the next fourth of your book, and your whole objective is to identify a minimum, because I have 3 rows on your role sheet, but a minimum 3 times that you notice a conflict occurring. Now, let's say that you have the same battle between 2 types of people, like the socias and the greasers. So it's really like between the same people, you just notice maybe 3 times that it's occurring. That's okay. You could also find 3 totally different types of conflicts, 3 different groups of people where there are conflicts, but anytime you see a conflict occurring, or a moment when it is spurring up, or a moment where someone is having a conflict with themselves, you are going to record the type of conflict, between whom, and what led up to that conflict. Why did it really happen? What caused it? If it's really obvious to you. If you feel like you need help with understanding what caused it, totally ask me for help. You'll also record the page number or page numbers where you see that conflict occurring. You have been practicing finding like the patterns of conflict a lot in your synthesis paragraphs and in your quick jots all year long. So this shouldn't be like a very new concept to sort of track down when those conflicts are happening. If you need anything with this, or if you sort of are questioning like how or if what qualify as, a conflict, please come see me. Your objective as the problem poser is to find where those conflicts are occurring in your book. Start with the major conflicts and then work down to the minor conflicts. All of those qualify as problems to detect. Let me know if you need any help. Have good time as the problem poser.